The palace gates were shut tight. Guards stood at every corner. Servants were not allowed to leave their quarters. Torches burned all night, casting long shadows on the walls. Everyone could feel it. Something terrible was hiding among them. Oranmiyan stood in the middle of the great hall, eyes cold, hands behind his back. His warriors lined the walls, watching closely. Okambi stood beside him, silent, calm, like he was waiting for lightning to strike. One by one, members of the royal household were brought forward. Chiefs, advisors, servants, wives. Everyone answered questions. Everyone was watched, but nothing seemed out of place. Then, just when they were about to give up, Okambi walked to one of the queen's handmaidens. She looked normal, young, quiet, innocent. But when he looked into her eyes, he whispered something in a language no one else understood. Her face changed. Her eyes darkened. She screamed and tried to run. Before she could escape, the guards tackled her. She fought like a wild animal, biting, kicking, growling like something not human. It took 6 men to hold her down. When they searched her room, they found strange charms, dark powder, and letters written in blood. She was a messenger of the cult, and she had been living in the palace for years. Okambi turned to Oranmiyan and said, "This is just one. There are more, and they are not all servants." The words chilled Oranmiyan to the bone. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, looking out at the land he has built. Oyo was strong, but it was cracking from the inside, not by war, but by poison, whispers, hidden enemies. He had faced swords before, but this was worse. Then, just before dawn, a rider came to the palace covered in blood. He was one of Oranmiyan's messengers. His village had been attacked, burned to the ground by men wearing masks of bone. No one survived. The only message they left behind was carved in a stone. "The crown will fall, the prince will weep." Oranmiyan stood up, dressed himself in armor, and called a meeting. "I will not wait for this evil to grow," he said. "We ride at sunset." Okambi, Torusi, the strongest warriors, and even his son, who was now almost a man, begged to follow. Oranmiyan agreed but gave a warning. "This will not be a clean battle. This will test your mind, your heart, your soul. Some of us may not return." They set off at sunset, heading for the Black Hills where the cult was set to gather. The journey was quiet at first, but the closer they got, the stranger things became. The birds fell from the sky. Rivers flowed backwards. One warrior started hearing voices. Another one disappeared during the night and was never found again. When they reached the base of the hills, they found a cave hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, the walls were covered with drawings of blood, pictures of kings dying, thrones burning, and at the center, a tall, hooded figure with no face. Oranmiyan's hand tightened around his sword. They entered the cave, and what they found inside was beyond anything they had ever seen. Dozens of people in black robes stood in silence. Their faces were covered. They didn't speak, They didn't blink, they just stared. A voice came from darkness. You have come, Oranmiyan, the cursed child, the one who walks with thunder but is blind to the fire behind him. A figure stepped forward. His robe was different, lined with red and gold. He removed his hood. Oranmiyan gasped. It was someone he once trusted, a chief from the early days, a man who had eaten with him, laughed with him, even fought beside him. Why? Oranmiyan asked. The man smiled. Because your blood is too powerful. The gods fear it. The world bows to it. And we will burn it to the ground. Then everything happened fast. Screams, fire, arrows. The cave shook. The battle began. Oranmiyan fought with rage and sorrow in his heart. Okombi summoned ancient chants that made the ground tremble. Dorothy fought with a blade hidden in her dress, cutting down enemies with the strength of a warrior queen. Even Oranmiyan's son fought, protecting his mother. But the cult was strong. Their power came from something old, something dark, and for every one they killed, more shadows rose. As the cave collapsed, Oranmiyan was separated from his people. Stones fell, the ground cracked, and then silence. When he opened his eyes, he was alone in the dark, but not completely. A voice whispered behind him, "You are not the hero they think you are. You are the storm that will drown the world." Oranmiyan stood still in the darkness, breathing heavily. The cave had collapsed behind him. He didn't know if Dorothy or Okombi or his son had made it out. His sword was gone. His strength was fading. But that voice, it was still there. Calm, cold, cruel. "You think you are chosen," it whispered. "But the truth is, you were made. You are a weapon, and weapons do not choose peace." Oranmiyan turned, fist clenched. "Show yourself," he growled. A figure stepped out from the shadows, tall, cloaked, face hidden behind a wooden mask, carved with crying eyes. But his voice was clear. "I am the keeper of the past," he said, "and you must see what was hidden from you." Before Oranmiyan could speak, the cave around him began to spin. He felt the floor disappear beneath his feet. A wind pulled his body, and suddenly he was standing in a different place, a memory. It was the royal chamber in Ile-Ife many years ago. He saw his father, Oduduwa, standing over two cradles, two baby boys. He saw the high priest beside him, holding a scroll. "The prophecy is clear," the priest said. "The twins carry both light and shadow. One will build, the other will bring ruin." Oduduwa's face was full of sorrow. "They must never grow together. Separate them. Hide the truth. Let one live in peace." Oranmiyan watched as the babies were taken away, one in gold cloth, one in plain rags. He fell to his knees. The truth burned in his chest. He and Okombi were never meant to meet. Their paths were twisted from the start. The keeper's voice returned. "Now you know. Your power is not just yours. It comes with a price, and soon The gods will collect it. The ground cracked beneath him again, and Oranmiyan screamed. The vision disappeared. He was back in the broken cave. The rocks glowed faintly. His sword lay beside him, half buried. He grabbed it, stood up, and walked forward. His body was weak, but his spirit had turned to fire. Outside the cave, the survivors gathered. Dorothy stood with blood on her clothes, face bruised but proud. Okombi leaned on his staff, breathing hard. Oranmiyan's son was beside him, holding a cut across his arm, eyes burning with courage. When Oranmiyan stepped out of the cave, everyone turned. For a moment there was silence. Then Okombi said, "What did you see?" Oranmiyan looked at them all and replied, "The truth. And now I must make the hardest choice of my life." He told them everything, the prophecy, the secret of their birth, the danger of their bloodline. Dorothy grabbed his arm. "Does this mean you are cursed?" "No," he said. "It means I was born to choose." Okombi stepped forward. "Then choose. Stay and rule, or walk away and end the line." Oranmiyan looked at the land around him. Oyo had grown strong. His people had hope. His son was ready. His wife had stood beside him through storms and war. But the shadow still lingered. The cult was not fully gone. The darkness had only paused. That night, as the stars blinked above them, Oranmiyan stood alone under a tree, sword planted in the ground, the strange mark on his arm still glowing. He prayed not for power, not for victory, but for clarity. And as the wind blew gently, he heard the voice of Oduduwa in the wind. "Whatever you choose, let it be with truth in your heart." He opened his eyes. It was time. At sunrise, the people of Oyo gathered in the main square. Word had spread that Oranmiyan was going to speak. Some feared he would abandon the throne. Others feared he would declare war again. But all of them came, hoping to see the man who had led them through battles and darkness stand strong one more time. Oranmiyan stood before them with no crown, no golden robe, no guards at his side, just his sword. His family stood behind him, Dorothy, Okombi, and his son. He raised his hand and the crowd went silent. "I was born in mystery," he said. "I was raised in power. I have fought wars you will never see. I have seen visions the earth itself tried to hide. But today, I speak not as a king. I speak as a man." He told them the truth about his birth, about the prophecy, about the bloodline that the gods feared. People gasped. Some cried. Some trembled. But Oranmiyan kept going. "I will not run from my fate," he said, "but I will not let it destroy what we've built. Oyo must live, even if I must walk away from it." A voice from the crowd shouted, "We need you! Don't leave us!" Oranmiyan looked at his son. "You don't need me anymore," he said. "You need a new light, a fresh fire, a leader who carries no curse." He turned to his son and pulled out a red beaded bracelet. his own from when he first became a warrior. He tied it to the boy's wrist. "You will lead now," he whispered, "but never forget, the king is not his title. He is his choices." That night, Oranmiyan gathered his closest companions. He told them he would leave the kingdom for a time. He didn't say where he was going, only that it was a journey he must make alone. Okombi wanted to follow, but Oranmiyan stopped him. "We've walked together far enough," he said. "Now you must stay and protect what we've planted." Before dawn, he kissed Dorothy goodbye. She didn't beg him to stay. She only said, "Come back to us, even if it takes years." He looked at her, eyes full of sorrow and strength. "If I don't return," he said, "tell our son I became the wind." And then he disappeared into the forest, with only his sword, his prayers, and a heavy silence. Weeks passed, then months. The people waited, but no one saw him. Until one night, when the skies cracked with thunder and a fire lit up the northern hills. A dark army had returned. Not men this time, but creatures shaped like shadows, marching without sound. The last worshippers of the Dark One had found a way to break into the land of the living, and they were coming for Oyo. Panic filled the city. The new king, Oranmiyan's son, stood tall. He ordered the gates locked, the warriors ready, and the children hidden. But deep inside, he feared he was not ready. How could he fight a storm his father could not stop? Then, on the third night, when the skies turned red and the thunder roared louder than drums, a bolt of lightning struck the center of the battlefield, and from it stepped a man. Tall, his hair wild, his beard thicker, his body covered in new scars, his arm glowing with a mark brighter than ever. Oranmiyan had returned. He didn't speak, he just raised his sword. The shadows rushed forward. The warriors screamed, but Oranmiyan walked into them like a flame through dry grass. He fought like a god, like thunder given skin. Every step he took shook the earth. Every swing of his sword sent darkness flying. His son and Okombi led the charge behind him. The battle lasted until the sun rose, and when it was over, the shadows were gone. But so was Oranmiyan. They searched for him. They called his name, but he had vanished again. No body, no blood, no sign. Only his sword remained, stuck in the ground, still warm. They built a shrine around it, and for generations, people said, if Oyo ever faces true danger again, the wind will change and Oranmiyan will return. Because legends never die, years passed. The city of Oyo changed. New walls rose, new roads were built. The markets grew louder, the people happier, and the land more peaceful. But in every corner of the kingdom, from the palace to the farms, one name still lived on people's lips: Oranmiyan. His son ruled with wisdom and courage. He remembered everything his father taught him about honor, patience, and strength. He wore the red beaded bracelet every day and never sat on the throne without first touching the sword his father left behind. The sword was kept in the royal shrine, and no one dared to move it. It stood in the ground just like the day Oranmiyan vanished, glowing faintly as if his spirit still held it. People came from far places to visit the shrine. Some came to pray for courage. Some came to ask for protection. Others came just to whisper, "Thank you." The old ones told the young, this was the sword of a king who feared no shadow, a man who walked through fire and still returned. Stories about him grew. Some said he became a spirit, half man, half wind. Others swore they saw him in battlefields, helping brave men survive when all hope was lost. Some hunters claimed that during heavy storms, they heard footsteps behind them, and when they turned, there was no one there, only the sound of a sword dragging across a stone. But the truth was simple. Oranmiyan had given everything he had to protect his people. He didn't rule for himself. He didn't chase riches or fame. He chose a path of sacrifice because he believed the future was more important than his comfort. Okombi stayed in Oyo, advising the young king. He grew older, slower, but his heart remained sharp. Sometimes at night, he would sit by the fire and whisper, "Brother, you did it. You beat the darkness." Torosi became a mother to the kingdom. She taught young queens how to love fiercely and lead with strength. She never married again. Her heart belonged to one man, and that was enough. One day, many years later, a storm came, loud, wild, full of thunder. The people ran for cover, but the king, now a grown man, stepped outside. He looked at the sky and smiled. He said nothing. He just stood still as the wind danced around him, brushing past his ears like a voice too soft to hear. He closed his eyes, and for a moment he felt it, the warmth of his father's hand on his shoulder, the weight of his love, the power of his name, Oranmiyan. The storm passed and the sky cleared, and in the heart of Oyo, the fire he lit continued to burn, quiet, strong, unshaken. Because some stories do not end. They become the soil under our feet. They become the wind behind our back. They become us. Please like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to our channel for more educative and inspiring stories and myths. Until next time, this is Folktales by Fayoke, where history comes alive.